Welcome to WVTC TV Network, capturing family moments in real time, bringing families closer together from the comforts of home. We are unleashing something different to the world. Start your subscription today for the low price of $4.99 per month or $55 annually. Go to www.wvtctvnetwork.com to sign up today. WVTC TV Network is streaming live on 8 different platforms. You can easily download the WVTC TV Network app on the Apple Store, Play Store, Roku, Fire TV, and more. Here at WVTC TV, we have access to movies that everyone can enjoy, including independent films, Sons of a Preacher and a Good Thing, Treasures of Life, the epic drama, The Passion of the Christ, and the box office hit Madagascar Escape to Africa. Remember, go to www.wvtctvnetwork.com and sign up today.
I'ma do it better, better, better. I'ma do it better, better, better.
Hi, and welcome to Healing Works with Anna. I'm Anna. I am the host and the founder and CEO of Healing Works, and yes, and a licensed marriage and family therapist. Sorry. Go ahead, Delaney.
Delaney, I am Chief Wellness Officer of Healing Works, as well as the co-host to this radio show. Yeah. Today we're talking about the power of pause, how restorative breaks can transform your mental health. We recently wrote a blog post about this. Anna, do you want to share anything about this topic before we get started?
I don't think so.
Okay, awesome. Well, how would you define a restorative break? And why do you think we often feel guilty for taking them?
Okay, so I would say I define it as intentional rest. And by intentional rest, I mean rest that actually revitalizes you. So not like, 4 hours of watching Netflix or, and again, yeah, if you do that for enjoyment, that's okay, but that's not intentional rest. So that's how I would define that. And why do we feel guilty? I think that is a very deep question that really gets into our ancestors and all the things that they endured, and how rest is not something, though it is and always has been our birthright. It was a birthright that was stripped from them. So I think sometimes that guilt can live inside of us, and so finding ways to reclaim it and reclaim rest is important.
Absolutely. Can you break down what a restorative break kind of looks like if it's not going to different means of coping, like escapism or running to social media and TV? Like, what does a restorative break look like, and what does that entail?
I'll speak for myself. I know every morning I have a pot of tea. And so and it's loose leaf tea. So, I take time to heat the water, and then I take time. And so the smell of the tea leaves is something that I try to take in and enjoy. And then while I'm having my tea, I'm typically not working, and so it's usually a moment of quiet for me to enjoy that before I jump in. And so that's something that's intentional rest where I'm not, filling my mind with all of these things. It's just a moment for me to just kind of sit, maybe reflect, but also doing so in a calm way, not in a thinking of all the things, that
Mhm.
I did or didn't do, but just taking a moment to reflect. Um, yeah, so that would be an example. Going on walks, I think, is another example of intentional rest. It might seem interesting because you're walking, not resting, but it's good for mind, body, and soul connection. That type of movement and being out in the sun. Um, you know, we have Lake Michigan here, so going out not in at this season, but and just sitting by the lake, spending time, or spending time with family or friends who are restorative as well,
Mhm.
um, for the purpose of intention for the purpose of restorative breaks. Spending time with people who also pour into you as much as you pour into them. Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is a restorative break is something that essentially like refills you.
Yeah,
Like if you were a cup and you
yes,
were emptied out by whatever, takes from you in that day, that a
absolutely.
restorative break is with the intention of pouring back into that cup so that you can give more, if that
Yes,
makes sense. So,
absolutely.
like taking time to pause, to meditate, to
Mhm,
something that is actually healing,
mhm,
restorative, and, you know,
mhm,
I think that's so great. I think, to answer the second part of this, like, why do we often feel guilty for taking them? I think this is, like you said, multi-layered. I think oftentimes when I take restorative breaks to recalibrate, I can often feel like lazy, like I'm not doing enough,
mm,
or
mhm,
I can feel like, oh, like I have to say no to something and I don't wanna say no. I think I
mhm,
mentioned in the last podcast that I realized throughout last year, I just said yes to so many things, and that caused me to
mhm,
feel very, like, spread thin and fragmented, and I didn't take a lot of restorative breaks, and
mhm.
ultimately, it caused my body to kind of give me cues of, like, "You need to chill,"
Yeah.
um, and why do you think that is? Why do you think that, like, this concept of grind culture is so deeply ingrained in our communities, especially as people that look like us, Black people.
Yeah. Well, well, I think,
Let's get into it, yeah.
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 Well, I don't believe that this is who we were pre-colonization. And
Mhm,
so this is the effects of, honestly being, captured, and brought over without against our will to do forced labor as though we are not human beings, and treated less than human, less than anything that's living, honestly. And so I think that that definitely lives inside of us because, we were told that we were machines, and so that was the um and that was the expectation. And
mhm.
so I think, um and then even now in our current society, that is still the undercurrent of pretty much all
It's
of
almost
our
like
country. Yeah.
yeah, it's almost like I've heard it described of like, you know, post freedom, that it's like a monopoly game where everybody else has more money to start than you, and so you're essentially trying to catch up,
Mhm.
um, just overall, and like, and I feel that, like, I think, we're told that we have to not just be excellent, but we have to be exceptional, like, we can't just be great, we have to be better than great just to get by, and I think that is so deeply ingrained in us, especially as women, because a lot of us struggle with worthiness, like feeling like, oh, I'm not worthy unless I do this, this, and this. And um, yeah, I just feel like I agree. Like it definitely set us back, and not in the way that, um, like not in an external way, like in an internal way. Um,
For sure.
I-
And oh, go ahead. Go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead. Oh, you
I would say that too, because I think there's the worthiness, and that extends to us as women and Black men too, with the,
Mhm.
like expectation then of now, being the provider, but also to for all of us, having had so many things, pit again. Like I just think of, each time, we had, yeah, like we've had so many times where, okay, you know, we've gotten out, and then there's more trauma
Right.
that is dumped on us, and so I do think, yeah, and specifically through oppression.
Right.
Um, and so, yeah, but I will say that um, one of the things that I have said to sort of combat that is I am not a coffee bean, therefore I'm not meant to be ground. You grind
Mhm.
coffee beans, you do not grind human beings. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, I want to encourage our listeners. Like, when was the last time that you gave yourself permission to really pause? Um, we'd love to hear it. If you go to at healingworks.co on Instagram,
Mhm.
let us know. Give us a DM. Drop a comment under one of our posts. Like, let us know. When was the last time you gave yourself permission to pause? Um, let's really break that down. Aside from, or let me ask it this way: what are societal messages that make people, especially Black professionals, feel like rest is a luxury rather than a necessity?
Hmm. Well, uh, the first saying that I think of is, "Oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead."
Mm,
You know.
mhm,
Um,
mhm,
so I think that that's one. I think growing up, I was taught, and you know, ha- it was true, that I had to work twice as hard, but do so covertly.
yeah,
And so that instilled a certain level of drive, and so I think that the messages are all over, and then too, even the building generational wealth, which I believe in.
mhm,
I do
right,
think it is important.
right,
And also finding ways to do so, that still honors your energy, so that you're not trying to do it from a place of burnout. Because
right,
generational wealth is, while it can be financial, it's also emotional, mental, spiritual as well.
right. I agree. I think that I, from a young age, realized like uh, I have to just persevere. Like the messaging of like even just to children, especially young Black boys, like you don't have time to cry, you don't have time to just sit back, like you have to go, like you gotta, you know, you
Mhm.
gotta keep up and like, um, like it just like not only do the adults feel it, but I think it's reinforced into young people that we have to push ourselves so hard to where, like we miss opportunities to have healthy rhythms. And, um, because I find myself even now, like I, you know, get up early, I stay late, I, agree to a lot of stuff in hopes that it'll push me ahead in some way, whatever my goal is, to where I have nothing. And then when I have nothing, I'm still pushing. And then it's like I don't think we talk enough about, how that takes a toll mentally as well as physically.
Mhm.
Um, what's interesting too, th- this might be a lot, but like I found myself coming across um the story of John Henry recently.
Mm. Oh.
And yeah, and like I don't know if many of you are familiar with it, but it's this, I guess, folk tale about a freedman that, in order to earn his freedom, and for his family, he had to work on the railroads, and he's nailing these stakes into the railroad. And then there's this machine that comes and he engages in like this competition. And I just kind of was thinking to myself, like, it's a powerful story, but I also, it's really um, a testament of like how most of us grind, um, to the extent that we will sacrifice so much, you know. And I thought it was really interesting when we were talking about this topic. But
And I
um,
will say to that,
right,
what happened was in competing with the machine, he lost his life.
right,
And so I think it's so important because, rest is not a luxury. It is literally our
a
birthright.
necessity, yeah.
Yes, it is a necessity. And so I think taking time to pause, it's a necessity for so many reasons. One, it is what helps you to heal. It is hard at first if you're not used to, you know, taking moments because the things that you do push away do come in those times. But the more
Yeah,
that you take that time to pause, the less overwhelming that'll feel and the more rejuvenating it can become. Um,
right.
and yeah, I'm like, can't stress that enough. And I think the one other thought I had with that too is you said it both in that folktale and too with your in the example you gave with yourself of
Yeah.
your body gave cues. And so I
Yeah,
imagine
which is actually the next
oh
question.
oh sorry, okay, let me
No,
go
it's
ahead.
totally good. It's perfect segue. But what happens to our nervous system when we don't take breaks? Let's talk about the science behind it. Like, why is rest so important?
If you don't take breaks, then you're constantly in a hyper aroused state. So basically, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, which
Hmm.
is now recognized as a response as well.
Yeah,
And so that is not, first of all, that's not healthy, and that is not how your body is designed to be. You are only meant to be in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, whenever you are in active danger,
right.
because that takes so much from your body. So, the rest of the time you are supposed to be in a restful state, or at least a neutral state. And so,
Yeah,
uh, yeah,
yeah. How does rest impact creativity, problem solving, and emotional regulation?
it allows for it. So, yeah.
Simply put, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and even for myself, if I, when I have moments of burnout, because it is normal, to experience that, then I do get more of a tunnel vision. It's not until I allow times of intentional rest that I'm able to engage, with the creative parts of me. And I think that's true for emotional regulation because forcing yourself to slow down forces you to deal with whatever emotions, like have been under the surface. And by dealing with them, you get to then move through them, um, and then be in a regulated state.
Hmm. Absolutely. I find that, you know, I think many of us can, identify a person or ourselves in this, like, when I'm stressed out or burnt out or I haven't rested, I haven't slept enough, I haven't eaten enough, I haven't done anything that would regulate my nervous system, I become someone I don't even know anymore. Like, I become, like, incredibly irritable, I have brain fog, I have a hard time with memory, I'm not as agile, you know? Um, and I just feel like I become somebody I don't even know. I lose touch with, who I am, and, and I find that in the times, like, when I do get a vacation, I actually get to experience joy, and I'm more myself, and I'm more fun loving, and, like, um, and I feel like burnout is just never worth it. It just takes so much away from us. Um, what are some surprising mental health benefits of taking restorative breaks? Like, on the flip side, like, what do you feel like, you know, is, you know,
Mm.
words,
No,
but, what do
yeah.
you feel like are the benefits of taking breaks, and how does it show up in our mental and physical and holistic well-being?
Yeah, I think it allows us to attune to ourselves, and to
Mhm,
develop our intuition. Because I think, we part of part of what was used against us was a lack of rest.
mhm,
Um, and so I think that then engaging in rest liberates you to actually be connected to your spirit, on a deeper level. And, from there, then to be able to notice cues, even in terms of, a number of things, like uh, whether, um, this like this group of friends is beneficial to you or not,
yeah,
whether, this life choice is beneficial to you or not. You can be attuned to your intuition, and make choices that are in your best interest versus from a place of disembodiment, of being disconnected from self. Uh,
yeah,
so I think that's probably, a big one. And honestly, freedom, really. It's because I think you're free to be instead of just do,
right.
which is a way to honor our ancestors who
That's
had that
such a
right.
word.
Yeah.
Let's pause there for a second. You get a
Yeah.
chance to be, not to just do.
Hmm.
We're so much more than doing. We're not even called human doings. We're called human beings, people.
Right. Like, let's have the
Like,
emphasis
we
on
were
the
created to
being.
just be. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah.
Goodness. Anyway, continue.
No, absolutely. I think that, and it also, I think, frees your mind. I
Yeah.
think, to really, think through things, to, you know, to pontificate, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Work
on
hard.
whatever you find interesting to you, and, it relieves stress. Stress will come, of course, but,
Yeah.
it also allows you to navigate it, and
Mhm.
manage it in healthier ways. So
Yeah,
really, the possibilities are endless.
for sure. What are some simple ways to incorporate micro breaks into a busy schedule?
Hmm. I think one is taking a stretch break. So if
Mm,
like, are at a desk all day, or if you're on your feet all day, whatever the case is,
yeah.
taking a stretch break. It doesn't have to be long. It can literally be 5 minutes. It can be in your chair if you want. But
Mhm,
that's one way. Deep breathing is something I like, especially square breathing,
mhm.
where you breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, breathe out for 4 counts, and then hold for 4 counts. And so I would say doing that a few times you'd be surprised how regulating that is. Um,
Mhm.
and so, and these are micro breaks. So I would also say too, if you are someone who enjoys tea or coffee throughout the day, like taking a moment while you're making it to just, um, like take it in with all of your senses, and enjoy the smell of the coffee that's brewing or, and so have small moments of gratitude in that. So, yeah.
I think for me, like, I something that I recently got into, very old lady of me, but, like, crocheting. I
Nice.
just think, like, engaging in something that doesn't take that long, but also has a process to it that causes me to have to be really intentional about the steps and not be mindless, because I think, like, with technology, when you're doom scrolling or you're watching something for hours, it just you're just not present. And I think just doing something that, walking or something that takes time, takes like that has a process to it that forces you to be mindful rather than mindless, helps, even if it's just for 10, 15 minutes. Um, yeah, or journaling, something like that.
Reading is my
Um,
favorite.
reading, exactly, things like that. Um, it also just reminds me too, like when I was like younger, I grew up in the age where cell phones and social media was so new, and I was always on my phone, and my mom, like anytime I would complain about something, she's like, "It's because of that phone." And I'm like, like at the time I was like, "I don't know, like no, I don't think so." But as time has gone on, it's kind of true. Like I just think like our like being so connected to devices rather than with people or with ourselves does really take a lot from us.
Let's pause
Um,
there actually too, just for a moment.
really quick, really quick.
Really quickly, because I do think that is important, and that is also what plays a role in the difficulty in saying no, because we're
Mhm.
more accessible right now than we ever have been, or than we should be. And so, you know, before before that, if you might say, "Hey, let's meet up at such and such place at such and such time." But I don't know anything else except for we're meeting at that time,
Yeah,
you
we were
know?
just talking about that
Yeah, so I do
recently.
think, another plug for being okay with saying no and reducing the accessibility. Yeah.
For sure. And my last question, what is a weekly reset ritual that our listeners can do, or how would you encourage them to create one?
Mm. I would start with encouraging you to create one by considering what makes you feel most rested. Maybe it's taking like a Sunday afternoon nap. Awesome. Like allow that to
That's what
be,
I do.
yeah, let that be your intentional rest. Like, for me, I do practice the Sabbath. And so having a day of
Mhm,
intentional rest where accessibility to me is very limited.
mhm.
And and I only take part in things that bring me joy is something that I've come to need, and so I do think that's an option as well. But starting with what are the things that when you engage in it, you feel truly like rejuvenated and your cup is refilled, so
Being
to speak.
filled, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I have to take a day every week to just rest and do nothing intentionally, but also, like, within that day, like, maybe the first half of my day, I intentionally do nothing, but in the second half, I just take time to, like, plan and kind of, like, lay out my week, so that I can have these other moments of rest throughout the week. Like, I spend time with a planner, and I kinda make sure that, like, I have blocks of time where I don't have to do anything. Otherwise, I will literally fill up my schedule from top to bottom, and then that leads to burnout weeks where I physically and mentally and emotionally cannot accomplish anything, and that only feeds that beast of like, "Oh, I'm not doing enough, I'm not doing enough," and then it just becomes this crazy vicious cycle. And so I think, taking the time to just intentionally, be mindful and then take that other time to just be intentional of how you plan your life has made a difference for me, to make sure I have enough sleep, that I'm eating enough, like all the things. Do you have any other closing thought?
Um, Nothing other than, I mean, you can take a look at our blog where I do,
Please.
yes, we do have some reflection questions for you on there. I'm pretty sure, that you can use to reflect on all of this. And, feel free to reach out to one of our amazing therapists they can help you with this very thing. And so I think, we talked a long time ago about the reasons to do therapy, and this is one
Mhm.
of them, just
Yeah.
learning how to honor your humanity. So you can reach us at healingworks.co, and, or call us. All of our information is on the website, actually,
Yeah.
too. So, yes.
But thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And we'll see you next time.
Yes. Until next time.
Bye.